When I was 15, the world fell apart. A virus swept over nations and swallowed cities, emptying the streets of even the most populated metropolises. Doors were locked and shutters closed. Masks clamped over the faces that peered through windows. 6 feet of distance separated the world. I first heard about it on social media.
I first heard it on The Daily Show.
I saw it on YouTube.
I first heard about it from my friends.
I heard about it on the news. They said it was spreading to Europe, and they weren't ready. I wondered if we would have the same problem if it came to America.
How long would it take to get to Virginia?
I didn't think it would.
I thought people were overreacting.
I heard it was just like the flu. But people seemed so scared, and I remember thinking, this is just like the flu, then why is this such a big deal? Am I missing something?
But then it began to spread very quickly.
Everything happened so fast.
But in our immediate world, people were acting as if coronavirus was not going to impact us.
I noticed that as the coronavirus was popping up across the country, I rarely heard the adults around me mention it. Even as schools were closing, teachers didn't want to say the word coronavirus because they didn't want to worry us or disrupt our routine.
My parents wouldn't bring it up either.
We weren't allowed to talk about it in our home.
My dad didn't want to scare me.
Or my little brother.
Then one day, my mom bought cleaning supplies and hand sanitizer and said that if the virus became an issue, we would be ready. After that, we never talked about it again. I think sometimes grown-ups aren't sure how much information is safe to share with young people. Because adults didn't discuss the virus with me at home or at school, I was left with a lot of stress and uncertainty.
When it finally came, would it have been easier if adults had been talking to us about it all along?
Which is more beneficial for young people, maintaining our routine as long as possible, or being in the loop?
Our teachers might not have been talking about it as much, but the kids were.
Coronavirus started when people ate a soup made of bats.
It was engineered in a lab as a bioweapon.
I heard it spreads through 5G towers.
We can't get it.
Unless you eat Chinese food.
What is the impact of having false information, or not having enough information to begin with?
At the time, I didn't know it was the last day of school. They hadn't made any announcements yet, but students were acting rowdier than usual, joking around and breaking more rules. It felt like the last day before summer break. When I was on my way back to history class, I heard some shouting at the end of a crowded hallway. When I got closer, I saw that there were kids marching and skipping, saying things like it's Corona time. I saw a teacher break it up. When I got back to history class, everyone was talking about what had happened.
I think a girl got hurt.
Some kids pushed her down to the ground and yelled coronavirus at her because she was Asian.
She was Chinese.
Is she okay?
A teacher helped her.
I wasn't there. I only heard the commotion. I didn't know the girl, but sometimes when I coughed, other kids would laugh at me and say Corona.
And the more information we got, the more questions we had.
Tuesday, March 10th, 2:53 p.m. Fairfax County Public Schools sends an email.
Monday, March 16th will be designated as a Staff Development Day in order to provide an opportunity for staff to prepare for the possibility of distance learning in the event of a school closure.
Do we still have to turn in our homework?
How am I going to turn in my shop assignment?
Thursday, March 12th, 8:23 p.m.
Schools will be open as usual.
It sounds like this isn't going to last long.
Do we still have to use locker rooms? Is that safe?
A state of emergency was declared in Virginia. Thursday, March 12th, 11:51 p.m. A new email.
Schools will be closed tomorrow, Friday, March 13th, to ease parent, staff, and student anxiety.
Yes.
This can't be good.
Friday, March 13th, 4:08 p.m.
Schools will be closed through April 10th.
That's almost 4 weeks. What about the borrowed clothes in my locker?
What about the school play?
Will we have online school?
March 15th, 4:32 p.m.
All school buildings are closed until further notice.
Will I ever see my friends again?
Will we get to say goodbye to our teachers?
The first day home didn't feel like the first day because I didn't know that yesterday was my last day. I didn't know we weren't going back.
It didn't feel real yet. It felt far away. I didn't take it seriously. None of us did.
I still walked with my friends, fewer than 6 feet apart.
I still took my dog to the park. I still walked outside without caution.
Thursday, March 19th, 6:36 p.m.
If schools cannot reopen as scheduled on April 14th, our plan is to begin distance learning online.
Am I still going to be able to start high school next year?
How am I going to get my grades up?
Monday, March 23rd, 2 o'clock. The Virginia governor went live on Facebook to announce that schools will be closed for the rest of the year.
I didn't know that on my last day, it was my last day. The last day to hold someone close, and the last day I walked with relaxed shoulders, and the last day I passed people on the sidewalk without a thought, and the last day learning, and the last day gathering, and the last day dancing through space like it's insignificant, and the last day breathing. And we don't even see these stock market moments of our lives bleeding out because it's all happening too fast and too suddenly and too soon. And we're just left wondering where the hell the world went 2 weeks ago and where it's gonna go.
Before Miss Rona came to town, the whole world spun round and round. Life was normal and was great before Miss Rona came. When Miss Rona came to town, all of us had to shut down, isolate and close our eyes. Instead of cheers, we heard cries when Miss Rona came to town. Miss Rona, Miss Rona, now the school's closed down. Miss Rona, Miss Rona, now we're 6 feet apart. Miss Rona, stop the world from spinning round and around. Miss Rona, Miss Rona, please leave our town.
Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. Don't touch your face. Hand sanitizer. No touching. Stand 6 feet away. Wear a mask in public. Social distancing. Stay inside. Stay inside.
A bell. My eyes crack open. Sunlight streaming through the windows. I rise to the crisp morning air. The first day of quarantine. Damn that stupid alarm.
Quarantine sounds like a very loud household and very empty streets.
Quarantine looks like putting distance between yourself and the world.
A personal bubble with a 6-foot radius.
It means not being able to touch the people you love.
My mother and I were driving to my grandparents' house to drop them off some groceries. Right when my mother pulled into their driveway, I darted out of the car and sprinted up to their door. Suddenly, I heard my mother yell, "Jamison, you can't go inside their house." I quickly bolted to a stop. What? These were my grandparents. These were the people that would pick me up from school every day and shuttle me to my sports. They practically raised me growing up, and I wasn't allowed to go inside their house and give them a hug? I realized then that me not being allowed to step foot inside their house was only for the sake of their health, so I understood as we spoke through their window. In a minute, my mom was next to me with the groceries. She dropped them off on their doorstep. It was time to leave. I blew them a kiss through the window and hopped back into my mom's car.
Quarantine looks like living life with a different set of rules in order to keep us safe, especially when we leave the house.
I had to go to the grocery store with my mom. I didn't want to wear a mask. I was embarrassed, especially since my mask would be a bandana, not a real mask. I didn't want to stand out. My mom told me.
Wearing a mask will become trendy pretty soon.
I rolled my eyes. I was not going to wear a mask. So I didn't. But when I walked into the store, I felt uncomfortable. About half of the people in the store had a mask on, which was way more than I expected. I felt guilty that I didn't have one. Now, whenever I go out, nearly everyone I see is wearing a mask, and I am too. In fact, I would definitely feel more uncomfortable if I wasn't wearing a mask.
How does wearing a mask change your experience of being in public?
My mom and I have this walk we go on. We drive down to the canal, and from there, we walk down to the rocks by the Potomac. When quarantine started, I was nervous to go on it because it's a pretty popular trail. But we decided to give it a go and suited up, masks and all. There were quite a few folks there to enjoy their sunny Saturday afternoon. It wasn't like we were shoulder to shoulder with people, but there was this constant game of chicken going on to see who would step 6 feet into the brambles for the other person. Sure, I was wearing a mask, but barely anyone else was. I even saw my neighbors and their 2 kids walking along the trail. I don't even think they recognized me. When I'm wearing a mask, I feel this sense of alienation.
Quarantine sounds like silence, and looks like empty walls, and feels like loneliness.
Now our homes are more than just our homes. They're hair salons, gyms, churches and temples, art studios, and classrooms.
April 14th.
First online classes today.
What does school look like during quarantine?
Now your living room is your classroom. And going to school means turning on a computer.
Now, I share my classroom with my siblings and my pets.
And my classmates and my teachers see where I live.
My teachers aren't in the same room as me, so they can't help me in the same way. Does everybody have a device? An internet connection?
I recently have been having Wi-Fi issues, so it's hard to communicate with teachers. I'm late for everything because the internet in my house is so slow.
I was already 20 minutes late for my math class, and now I had to restart my computer. By the time I got to work again, I was 45 minutes late. Even then, the internet was still really slow and wouldn't work, so I just gave up.
You might be in the call, but you can't hear. You might get disconnected from the call, and that stresses you out because it happens to me repeatedly for some reason.
We're not having enough information.
Now that teachers aren't in the same room as their classes, how does it change the way they interact with their students?
Hi, Autumn, it's so good to see you.
Hi, it's really good to see you too.
And so good to hear your voice. How have you been?
I've been good, but kind of iffy lately because of what's going on.
Yeah, I think we're all feeling that way. Well, welcome to class. We're going to get started soon. We're just waiting for a few other people to join us.
Okay.
Good morning, room 11. You are ornithology stars. Today, our bird, look at this, is the Philippine eagle. A classroom environment that helped them understand how to be awesome, terrific people. And so I try to compliment that a lot in the Zoom sessions. They like seeing me, they like seeing each other, they like being acknowledged. This is what good people do. Good people being anybody who shows respect for other people.
So the administration at my school, since I'm a senior in high school, gave everyone these wonderful yard signs for all the seniors.
How does going to school remotely change the way students treat each other?
Before I even turned on my camera, a boy had read my name and decided to ask,
"Who is this girl? Is she ugly?"
After he said this, I was pretty hesitant to turn on my camera. I absolutely adored the way my hair looked, so I decided to turn on my camera anyways. Later on in the meeting, we got split up into breakout rooms.
That's a stupid headband.
The teacher wasn't there, so she didn't hear any of it. When we got back to the main meeting room, I told the teacher what had happened, but the other kids just scoffed. They found it funny.
I would have helped her, but I didn't have a microphone.
The teacher tried to stop them from being mean,
But they just talked over her.
She muted everyone.
But they held up mean messages to the camera.
The teacher turned the cameras off. When she thought everyone was calmed down, she turned them back on. The boy started saying mean things again.
So she turned them off again. And then back on. I decided to keep my camera off and my microphone muted. Kids asked if I was still there, but I said nothing for the rest of the meeting. Similar things have happened to me many times before in person at school, but because we were in a new virtual environment, no one knew how to handle the situation.
How do we keep students safe in virtual spaces?
In school, teachers help us feel safe by creating a routine. But now that we're separate from each other, it's harder to do.
My life used to be the 20-minute rides to and from school, the 7-hour school days, the 90 minutes of after-school activities, and the time between dinner and bed.
My understanding of time was intertwined with my schedule. With quarantine, it is unraveled.
So what's time now?
My days are measured in book chapters, many TV show episodes.
Swipes on my phone, swipes on my phone, swipes on my phone, phone.
Rows and rows and rows of crocheting. 3 entire blankets.
How many game achievements I get for every 24 hours I play?
How many have you gotten?
So far, 7.
I've wanted to be extremely productive, but what is there to do? I can't concentrate. For me, right now, time is just a number on the microwave.
I try to track time by how many times my dog asks me to feed him, and how many times my mom goes into another Zoom call.
How long it takes the cardinal eggs to hatch outside my window.
By how messy my hair gets and watching my phone battery slowly drain to death.
And then I realize it's 2 a.m. and I'm still wide awake.
So how do I get the rhythm of my day back in step?
It's very strange. I think it's strange for everybody, but particularly for seniors, you go from
you know, like living the life you're living to not living it ever again. Like, it's not like when the school year picks up again, I'm gonna go back. I'm done. Like, I will never go back. And it's just a very weird, I don't know, it's a very weird experience to just know that I'm finished with everything and I didn't get to say a proper goodbye.
It's just upsetting to be a senior in this quarantine. At the same time, I feel like I'm not really allowed to be upset about it because, I mean, there's a pandemic going on and it could be so much worse. Like, particularly for me, I know there are people dying and sick and people who can't see their loved ones. I wanted to see all my friends next to me, and now I won't, which sucks. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
The gatherings we use to mark important beginnings and endings, like graduations, ceremonies, and birthday parties, have all been canceled. What happens when we're not able to mark life events or the passage of time in the usual way?
For the last year, my brother and I have been preparing for our B'nai Mitzvah. We've been taking Hebrew lessons, having meetings with the rabbi, and planning our mitzvah projects.
In the Jewish faith, a B'nai Mitzvah happens when you turn 12 or 13. You read from the Torah in Hebrew and lead a service. It is the day you become an adult in the Jewish community.
It's a big deal, a joyful occasion. Family, extended family, and family you didn't even know existed attend. Plus, family friends, members of the synagogue, and close friends.
Our B'nai Mitzvah will still happen, but instead of family and friends surrounding me and hugging me, they will log on to WebEx, a video chatting software. Then next year, my brother and I will become B'nai Mitzvah in the synagogue. I have to wait a year for the in-person service, but I'm still grateful.
So many of our important milestones involve celebrating with large groups of people that we love.
I had just come home to Columbia, South Carolina from Howard University in Washington, D.C. After packing up my dorm room alone and traveling through airports alone, all I wanted was to not be alone. I was excited to see my family I had not seen since last November. I wanted to be with my family. I knew social distancing was the logical thing to do based on CDC guidelines, but the reality did not hit me until it was time for my grandmother's funeral the day after I got home. My parents passed me my mask and gloves as we were getting into the car. I put them on. Then, they told me that the whole family thought it was best if I sat alone in the back of the church because I had just returned from a city that had a much higher rate of COVID-19 cases. So I sat in the corner, alone, the entire funeral. It hurt. I felt like a germ. I had to walk alone to see my grandmother's open casket. I could not hug anyone. I could not be comforted, nor could I give comfort. At that moment, I did not care about this vicious virus. I just wanted to be a part of my family. And I had 14 days of self-isolation left before I could even be face-to-face with my own parents living in the same home as me. This pandemic changed the way I could grieve.
My baby brother Makai died in 2015 when he was 17 days old.
My mom, Stacy Brown, died when I was 2.
My brother Worky was shot in 2019.
Latrell was one of my best friends in middle school. He passed away that summer after the 5th grade from cancer. That was my first summer after my grandmother died.
When my mother got sick, I went to see her in the hospital and watch her fight for her life. When she passed away, I felt as if I couldn't stop it because it was not under my control. Then my dad passed away. How do I escape from that?
When my dad died, I thought that everything was over. My grades dropped from a 3.0 to a 2.0. I was devastated, so I got help from my therapist and school administrators. Once we stopped going to school because of the coronavirus, it got a lot harder for me to get that face-to-face help that I needed.
In quarantine, you don't just lose being outside the house, you lose everything that goes with it.
You lose interactions with your friends and you lose interactions with your family.
You're having to create what life looks like now.
Right now, we're trapped in the house until we go outside again. With grief, you're trapped in the feeling. You don't really know when it's going to end.
Grieving is like trying to follow a map with missing roads.
Being in quarantine is like stretching an elastic band, but you don't know how far it will go.
The road you follow is foggy and dark.
The elastic band continues to stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch.
Until it pops.
I don't remember falling, but suddenly I hit the ground. I don't remember crying, but suddenly I hear the sound of voices and laughter and history lost, of people I've loved and paths I've crossed. I don't remember leaving, but suddenly no one's around. I don't remember stumbling, but suddenly I toppled down and dust fills the air as I'm choking on smoke. But here all alone, it's like I never spoke. I don't remember losing, but suddenly I'm on the ground. I don't remember choosing to leave behind the life I found. But thoughts cloud my head and doubt clouds my mind. I reach for the world that we're leaving behind.
I struggled a lot in the previous part of my senior year with school, with my mental health, with my place and my path in life. The prospect of going to college was terrifying to me, even before the outbreak of COVID-19. But I was steeling myself for the jump. I was preparing myself to walk out to the very edge of my world and to let go of the old and to embrace the new all at once. Now that everything is shut down, I'm just floating in space. I don't know where I'm going or when, and so many of the things and the people that were grounding me throughout that process are gone. Every day I sit in my house and I just feel more and more confused about the future, and it feels like everything beneath and behind me is disintegrating. I still have my friends and my community, but it's all getting much more distant, and I know I won't get it back. And I'm not alone, but I can't help but be consumed by the forethought of loneliness.
I imagine things will get darker before they get any brighter. I'm learning to cope with my loneliness and being okay with being alone.
When so much has changed, what makes us feel safe?
The familiars make me feel safe.
Friends calling and family near me makes me feel safe. Quarantine changes my day-to-day life.
Now I press the elevator button with my key.
I open my mailbox with a glove.
I press the pedestrian walk button with my elbow.
And then I wash my hands. Happy birthday to you. Twice.
I still hug my sister. I pet my dog. I snuggle my nephew.
The only living things I touch nowadays are fruits, vegetables, and herbs.
Now,
I play the piano keys.
I tap my screen with my fingers. I plug my charger in frequently. And I feel the pedals of my bike.
How do we hold each other when we can't touch?
Quarantine makes me wonder what I should be doing in these times.
Every day at 7 p.m. in New York, we have a clap out for medical workers. People step out on their balconies or open their windows and cheer for 2 minutes for local hospital staff and first responders. When I walk outside at 7 p.m. every day with my parents, it's just me and them and 50 other people from my building and 100 other people from my block. Every day new faces join the celebration. There's never any conversation, but you can feel the distance between you and your neighbors dissipate. And in one action, we become joined.
How do we comfort each other?
1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
How do we comfort our communities from a distance?
How do we help each other find hope? One of the ways that I find comfort is reminding myself that I'm not going through this alone.
Quarantine sounds like silence. It's like the entire world has come to a standstill.
Quarantine sounds like a silence, a peace. But when you turn on media, it feels and sounds like a scary movie.
Karantena izgleda kao jedno veliko i strašno čudovište koje nam želi nauditi, no zapravo samo nas čini jačima.
It's made me wonder about the safety of our frontline warriors, those who can't stay at home because they are doctors or provide some other essential service.
I hope that this is not just the beginning for something even worse. It makes me feel safe that I'm with my family and the fact that my country is pretty stable with the current situation.
I hope that this quarantine experience gives us ample opportunities to understand ourselves better and identify our strengths, weaknesses, and responsibilities better.
I hope that when we emerge from the quarantine, that we will be a lot more respectful and a lot more kind and a lot more understanding.
Hope makes me feel safe.
Focusing on the good news makes me feel safe.
The people around me, my friends, my family, their love, their support, that makes me feel very safe.
What makes me feel safe? Well, the fact that I'm not alone, really. One of the things that I'm most scared of is being alone.
It's made me wonder if we romanticize the concept of isolation a little too much. After all, we are social beings. We need people. I hope that the world heals soon.
I hope that every single one of us collectively will rethink and realign how we engage with our environment, our resources, and our understanding of power.
Karantin me je naterao da razmišljam o tome šta svaki dan uzimam zdravo za gotovo. Svaki dan uzimam zdravo za gotovo svoje zdravlje, svoju slobodu i ljude, dobre ljude koje me okružuju. To sve uzimam zdravo za gotovo i sada sam shvatio da to treba da cenim. To što imam.
It's actually made me wonder about how much do we need, what we can do without, how more attuned can we be to the world around us, how much more responsible can we be.
आई होप कि हम इस क्वारंटाइन से बहुत कुछ सीख सकते हैं और एक नई लाइफ की शुरुआत कर सकते हैं.
It's made me wonder if it will ever end.
Stay protect, stay safe, stay home.
You can put your hand in mine. Once, of course, you've watched it too. The ABCs or some other line. You can cuddle up with me. Once, of course, we've checked your tent to make sure that it won't rise. We can social distance, talk for hours on the phone. But if none of us are sick, then why not quarantine with me? We can lock the world outside. It's a crazy place, let's stay alive. It's time to leave those nasty things behind and cuddle up inside. Maybe I can take you out once all this crazy shit subsides. It's time to quarantine, but I can't think of it without you.
When I was 15, the world fell apart. A virus swept over nations and swallowed cities, emptying the streets of even the most populated metropolises. Doors were locked and shutters closed. Masks clamped over the faces that peered through windows. 6 feet of distance separated the world. Even as people retreated into their homes, animals crawled out of theirs. As the sun began to burn away the smog and mountains rose from beneath clouds of pollution. Sometimes it takes the burning of the world for the smoke to clear.
you.